Did you ever say anything to the Prime Minister that you knew not to be true?
No.
Thank you. And specifically, in terms of the particular points that Dominic Cummings raised, first, did you say that everyone who needed treatment got the treatment that they required when you'd been told by the Chief Scientific Advisor and the Chief Medical Officer that people did not get the treatment that they deserved?
I did absolutely say, both in private and in public, that everybody got the COVID treatment that they needed. And I'm very proud of the fact that with the NHS, we delivered on that during the pandemic because it was critical. There was no point at which I was advised, and I've taken the trouble to check with the Chief Medical Officer and the Chief Scientific Advisor, there was no point at which I was advised that people were not getting the treatment they needed. There were challenges in individual areas. There was never a national shortage of PPE because of the action that we took. On care home policy throughout, we followed the clinical advice. And the challenge was not just that we didn't have the testing capacity, but also that the clinical advice was that a test on somebody who didn't have any symptoms could easily return a false negative and therefore give false assurance that that person didn't have the disease. That was the clinical advice. At the same time, the clinicians were worried, because it took 4 days to turn a test around, that if you leave somebody in hospital in those 4 days, they might catch COVID and therefore go back to a care home with a negative test result, but having caught it. And so the advice was the most important thing was infection prevention control in care homes.
Is there anything you want to add as a right of reply to the oral evidence that you heard from Dominic Cummings?
Well, it is telling that no evidence has been provided yet. But there's a reason for that, I think, which is that, throughout this, I have got out of bed every morning with the view and the attitude that my job is to do everything I could to protect lives and to get this country out of the pandemic.